most of the, yeah.
So, because my car came from the factory with leather seats, I'm going to add that to my spec board next car.
Twin turbo.
All right, welcome back to the channel, ladies and gentlemen, on the Triple R Supercars channel. Today, we're going to discuss all about cars. And this is going to be an episode where the husbands get to defend ourselves versus the last episode where the four wives sat there and roasted us, mainly Adam, for an hour straight. So let's go with the introductions first, so we know who is who and whose wife had the most to say about them. So we can start over there.
I'm Alex.
Welcome, Alex.
Thank you. Welcome to the club. I own a shop called Absolute Driven Performance in Smithfield, North Carolina. We specialize in Toyota Supra and 2JZ performance.
Okay. I'm going to drop your Instagram tag down there.
Perfect.
So Alex's wife is Linda. So Linda was sitting in this chair last episode. So, and you, sir?
Hello, I'm Adam.
Okay.
I have the cars, the 5 or 6 cars, one of them called the Dragon. My wife is beautiful. She is very nice to me and is never mean.
So Riley was sitting in this chair on the last video, right?
Yes.
So that's who he's defending his background story from.
Yep.
Go ahead.
My name's Joe. My better half is Raven. I took her chair to limit confusion.
Okay.
And I only have one car that would be considered an issue. That's my '67 Mustang.
Okay. So yep. And obviously your host here, Aaron. Liz was sitting right here. That's my wife. In case y'all didn't put 2 and 2 together for the last 5 years that we've been having this YouTube channel. But we wanna defend and retaliate against some of the comments, the allegations that were made. And I feel like Adam is the first one to step up on to the plate, because there was a lot of topics about you having a bunch of cars or having these like specific conversations on Facebook Marketplace about wanting to purchase a car. Like, you like buying cars, apparently.
Well, I do like to buy cars, hence the reason we have 6. Yeah. But what I'm not going to do is waste anybody's time. So, I don't know why girls are out here making shit up. But at no point in time would I ever reach out to a guy and waste his time by talking him through his car and then telling him about my car, all under the auspice of, I might buy your car, but I'm not really going to buy your car. Yeah. So now, that being said, if a dude is selling his car and his wheel specs look great, I'm probably going to hit him up and be like, hey, dude, I am not interested in your car at all, but I am interested in those wheel specs because that shit looks super sweet. So beep. Let me know what's up. Like, tell me, tell me what you did. And that, yes, does that turn into we're going to chit-chat about cars? Probably, because I have sweet cars, and he apparently has a sweet wheel setup. Yeah. But, I'm definitely not going to lead anybody down a yellow brick road that goes nowhere. So,
I might be possibly guilty on this aspect. That I think sometimes having the conversation on buying a car with someone who's selling one, and I'm not necessarily saying on Facebook Marketplace. I'm talking more like at a car dealership. It kind of helps getting the reps in.
Liz got you pretty good on that.
Yeah. Getting the reps in, talking to somebody, and negotiating with the price. And
then just walking away.
I don't walk away. I think on it. You know, you have to think on it. You don't want to make a compulsive decision. Like
You got to shop around.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you got to know how
Even
to
when you're
control-
not shopping.
how to control your emotions whenever you're buying.
Oh yeah,
going to buy
100%.
something.
Like you're going to get emotionally connected to something, but the more that you put yourself in the situation and then force yourself not to do that thing, it builds up a tolerance. Like you can see how you react. You can control yourself better, understand how to better present yourself or go after something. So yeah, that's good. It's a solid tactic.
I will share that when I bought the Gallardo 2019, there was a little bit of emotion in there, like excitement, right? So I can't remember which stage it was. It wasn't the sales rep. It wasn't the sales manager. It was one person beyond that, and they upcharged me, like upsold me windshield coverage because having a cracked windshield on a Gallardo and any Lamborghini is going to be a bad day. Essentially, it's not just like go to Safe Light and spend $300 and it's replaced. It's not like that. So I did pay for extra coverage. It was a couple $1,000s extra for that. So in that particular moment, I was kind of like, yeah, like let's go for it. Yeah, you know what? Let's just add it. You know, I was just kind of racking it up, and I could see how like even going to spec a car or build up a car, you can continuously go down that rabbit hole talking about Z06 carbon packages.
Oh yeah, yeah. It
How
gets
much-
ridiculous.
How much was the Z06 carbon package for
So I have
the
a
Corvette
buddy-
C8?
Yeah, so I have a buddy, and he just bought a Z06, brand new C8, and he's like, "Yeah, I didn't want to do the carbon fiber package. He's like $30K extra on top." I'm like, "That's ridiculous on a car that he already paid like $165, $174." So yeah, car stuff it gets crazy, but there's people out there that have that money that just do it.
Yeah.
You know?
I won't fuck you, buddy.
Yeah, exactly.
So I had an experience, and I don't want to go down that rabbit hole again. So I kind of just feel like talking through the steps with the negotiating price and everything and getting it solid. And obviously, there is markup in all these cars at a dealership. So like there's some of these markups are $20,000-$30,000, and I'm not talking about just used cars. I'm talking about just new cars, but I'm talking about used cars as well in the exotic car community. They have a lot of buffer room, and a lot of the dealerships will just sit on the car because they know, and honestly, it's a fact. With time, the right buyer will come along that will spend that money, right? So,
Fact. And exactly with the exotics specifically, when they're sitting there, they draw in people.
yes,
Yeah.
So
Yes,
it's
absolutely.
a marketing piece until it sells.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, so like I was at a car dealership for hours yesterday helping a buddy out, and that was the thing. He's like, normal cars that they have at the lot, they want no more than a 30-day turnaround. They want that car gone within 30 days. But an exotic, like you said, draw people in. There's a niche community that's going to buy it. There's people that are going to spend that money on something like that.
Yeah.
But so they're willing to hold on to something like that a lot longer.
yeah. But do know, towards the end of the year, they want to show their banks that they're making sales, and they don't want to continue to pay profit or percentage on it because they owe the banks for holding that on their lot. So by the end of the year, December is like a really good time to buy any kind of car because the dealership wants to show profits for that year before they close out that year. So there's a little buyer's guide right there to keep in mind. But we got to talk about your seats.
My seats are wonderful, actually. The stock Supra seats are not bad. They're kind of like a couch, which is great for cruising and big butts. But they are not great for lateral G's.
Oh, like when you're cruising Tail of the Dragon, maybe?
Yeah. Like, if you wanted to like take a lot of turns, I think it's more like 311 turns and like 12 miles or something like that is probably a bit closer to the spec. But
Fact check that. So go ahead.
it's close. It's not exactly that, but it is really
Post up
close.
in the comments.
Yeah. Post.
Drop that in the comments if you know better more than that.
Yeah. But it's definitely not like 100 and something. It's about 3 times that much. But so if you were to want to do something like that, you would probably want a seat that once you get in, you're like squeezed in the seat and you're not going to go anywhere because you're ripping the shit out of the car left and right, So you're not like having to like press yourself up against the dash and brace against everything.
That's weird, man.
Who would do that? It's strange. You just put a seat in your car, and it does it all for you. It's pretty sweet. Yeah.
So I think the topic we're really talking about is building cars for a specific purpose versus just having a car that you just drive A to B, aka a daily driver car.
Right.
When you have a performance machine and you're trying to build it for a specific purpose, you make sacrifices in certain areas, and you're trying to make that thing perform the way you want it to. It's your car. And the way you want your car to perform is really well in the twisties, and that means you need seats that can support that.
That's right.
Yep.
Now, I'm not going to say that sometimes I have a daily driver that may need a extra thing or two just to make the daily drive a little more fun, and that may get out of control after a while, to the point that the daily is no longer a daily, and it too hits the twisties and does all the other fun things, and now I need a new daily driver.
Hence 6 cars.
Hence 6 cars, right? But
7
I mean, yeah, let's go to 7. Let's do it.
or 12 in Alex's case.
Yeah.
You guys at 12?
We have a lot. 6.
Did you say you have a car lot?
You have a car a lot.
Well, we kind of, right? I mean,
Yeah.
we've got 6 Supras, a Stealth, 2 Harleys. Let's see, between my wife and an RV, probably 12 vehicles. We got a diesel truck. We've got
12 vehicles.
The story behind the Stealth is cool.
the Stealth was a gift to my wife when we moved to North Carolina. I bought it sight unseen. I had it shipped from Wisconsin. Shout out to Wisconsin. That's where I'm from. Completely unrelated to the Stealth, but we bought our shop here, and back when I first met my wife, she was driving a Dodge Stealth. It was in pretty bad shape, but she was driving it, and we were broke, and that's what we were just driving, as we did. We were very young, and it started having a lot of problems and smoking really bad. And at the time, we just didn't have money, and we were just like, hey, look, we just got to get you into something more reliable. And so I told her, one day when we can afford it, I'm going to get you the one you really wanted, because hers was like a base model, non-turbo, nothing fancy about it, but it was white with red seats. So I always remembered that. And then, so fast forward many years later, like 10, 12 years later, right? I'm buying this shop in 2018, and I find the Dodge Stealth that I know would be the one. It's a white exterior, twin turbo, and 5-speed, not auto like hers was auto, and everything she wanted, red interior. And I just bought it and had it shipped from Wisconsin, sight unseen. I parked it on a lift in the shop, and she came in for the first time into the shop, and it was after we closed on it, and I was like, look at that thing over there, and she was just amazed with it, and I was like, that's yours. She's like, what are you talking about? I'm like, it's your car. I bought it for you.
That's awesome.
Hell yeah.
Nice things husbands do.
Yeah. I feel like a few of us have bought our wives' cars. Didn't you? Did you get one for Liz as the Supra? I remember you surprised her. Was that more a surprise, I bought this,
Yes.
or a surprise, I bought this for you?
It was a surprise. I bought this. I had my eyes on a Supra, and I had a lovely neighbor to give me bad influence.
Oh, never.
On having multiple cars and the Supra wow factor, man. The Supra impacts at the car meets so much.
Yes.
That thing when a Supra pulls in and it's going to find a place to shit where they sit there and park. It's like, you ever seen a dog walking around a parking lot just looking where he
Looking
wants
for
to
that
go
perfect
potty?
spot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
perfect spot. So that's how they come in and park the car meets, and they're rolling around looking for a spot to park, and you'll have a flock.
It's like a school of fish.
Yeah. Following like a whale. A flock of people they're trying to record, and they're trying to keep up with the car, and they're just trying to rev it up. Trying to
Two-step.
get the little videos in, and it's
You
just
have that Tesla mod exhaust, right? Or did you fix
used
that?
to.
You fixed that? Okay.
Used to.
It's my fault.
But yeah, like it's an impacting car, and people are excited to see it. And like the more that are out there, the more people can see and enjoy and get these good footage. So, in my case, for the first, I don't know, 8 months, it didn't have a wow factor from the exhaust, and I apologize for that.
As you should.
Even Alex was like, don't you make custom exhaust systems? Like, how is your car this quiet? I'm like, guys, come on, chill. I have a lot on my plate, and I'll get to this when we eventually get to it. And ultimately, it was like sometime last year we got around to it.
And then he was a manager, and he delegated, and his wife did it.
Exactly.
I mean, it's her car. He bought it for her. So
Yeah.
that
Yeah,
checks.
but the Supra is an awesome car, and I can totally see why you went down that road 6 times.
Oh, yeah. It was 7. I sold one not that long ago.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, I sold a red right-hand drive auto twin turbo not that long ago. But yeah, I used to have 7 in the collection, Mark IVs. And going way back to our previous conversation, you know, you were talking about going in dealerships and like trying to practice on not impulse buying. So I avoid Facebook Marketplace because that's how I got this many Supras. Like I just avoid looking at cars for sale. Honestly, I can't.
Captain Save-A-Ho. I got to save this car, dude.
Dude, it's real sometimes, you know, and I think because I'm so deep in the niche, it's so hard for myself to even talk myself out of buying one. Like, I'm like, I don't need another one. But then I've got this one over here that's like the backup chassis for the race car if anything ever happens to the race car. And then I've got this one, which is like the pristine, rare, colored one. And then I've got this other one here that's just like, oh, I'll just drive this one when I feel like going to Gap people. And then, like, I've got this one that I'm like, that one's the backup to the one that I just drive to Gap people. Like, it just sits there. I didn't build it yet, but it's going to get built maybe someday if something ever happens to this one, you know? And that's how I, like, internally justify it. So that's why I completely avoid Facebook Marketplace and Supras at this point. Like,
Disassociation is key.
yeah, like I will scroll and they'll come up in my feed from time to time because I'm part of all the super groups on Facebook and stuff. And I'll like just take note of the price, but I won't read the ad at all. I'll look at the picture of the car real quick, look at the price, note the price in my mind, like catalog it, like, okay, these are going prices. And then I just keep scrolling because I don't want to know any more about the car because I don't want to fall in love with it. I'll just keep going.
Emotional connection, attachment. Yeah, it's terrible.
I gotta ask the Stealth. You said it's white with red interior.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the one you got for Linda.
Yeah.
And that's the car she's literally talking about last video.
Yeah. Yep.
And it's a manual car now.
Yep.
Nice. And it's twin turbo.
Yeah.
It's the
RT twin turbo package. Yeah.
Okay.
It's pretty much all factory. The whole car's factory except for it's got a nice set of like Enki wheels on it. But other than that, it's all factory.
I was watching them tell the story, and in my mind, I'm kind of seeking that excitement. When you say you don't look at you'll look at the picture of the car and the price, and you don't want to know more. I used to look up like all the Lamborghini Gallardos and in a certain range, like I think it was like under 150K. I kept looking at every single listing and every photo, looking for the manual transmission Gallardo.
Yeah,
like it was the excitement of fishing through all these cars and just seeing what the manual transmission Gallardos were going for. So whenever I was watching that video, Linda talking about her car, I'm like on the edge of my seat, like just waiting to hear her say it. Like, was it a twin turbo model? Like, because when you say 3000 GT or you're talking about these Stealths, it's super exciting to see the ones that are rare, the twin turbo models, because those things are OGs on the street. Like, those are awesome cars. Like, just imagine all-wheel drive, twin turbo, V6 car.
Yeah.
Like, the GTR, I'm talking about the R35, that thing is such a beast of a car. So thinking back to in the 90s, the Supra, the Skyline, the RX-7, and then the 3000 GT, the Stealth, or the Celica, the Celica 4.
GT4. Yeah.
Yep.
I had one of those. Those things are sweet.
These are like sick,
like
old school Japanese cars that are just exciting to come across.
Hers is the all-wheel drive twin turbo all-wheel steering.
Yeah.
Which is
with the rear vectoring.
The rear, yeah. So At low speed, it goes opposite the front wheels when you turn to help you turn tight, and then on the highway, it just drifts over because all the wheels point in the same direction. So when you change lanes,
Nice.
yeah,
That's cool.
it's pretty cool setup. But very 90s car,
Yeah.
and no hate against Mitsubishi, but as far as modding a car and having like a really fast one, they're not the greatest platform, but they're kind of heavy.
Yeah.
With all-wheel drive and all-wheel drive and all-wheel steering, but a really cool factor.
Yeah.
Like as far as just if you got a clean one, and ours is clean, and I went really OG with the pop-up headlights to match exactly what she had in her base model back in the day. So, I think that I tried really hard to just get her the exact one.
Yeah.
It was just like the diamond in the rough, the exact colors and the exact year and everything to like match up to what she had, but just the best version you could buy that year.
Yeah.
And you're right, they're rare. They're hard to find.
Yeah.
You don't just find 3000 GT VR4s and RT twin turbo stealths in good shape.
Yeah.
They were made by Mitsubishi, which means in the 90s, these cars are not in great shape anymore.
No, not at all.
Yeah, that brings up a good point too. You're talking about how it's unique, it's rare. Cars like that, you typically want to leave alone.
Yeah.
Like my 67 Mustang, it was a base model, 6-cylinder, 3-speed manual, springtime yellow, garbage. So now it's a complete resto mod. Like, I don't care about chopping it apart, doing stuff to it, but like if it was a Shelby or something like that, fastback Shelby, people want to leave those alone. They want them all original, because it's unique, it's rare. So I can see why you don't want to touch that car, and leave it as is,
Joe.
just because of the rarity. What's up?
So, as I was like on the edge waiting for her to say what type of stealth it was, I was waiting for Raven to mention, and I was like, the whole video, I'm like, when is she going to say it? That your car is supercharged. Like, I think that's a pretty big factor to mention.
Well, the reason she didn't is because, same reason she thought it was at a transmission shop for months. It was at a dyno shop, like waiting in line to get a dyno tune put on it and some other work done. And she did have one thing, right? When I was driving it home, I was romping on it hard.
Yeah.
And there was some pressure built up in the cooling system, and it blew off the lower radiator hose. So I had to pull over, just got it towed home. And I have driven it since, but I've also put a new fuel injection system in since. So while I was doing that, ripped out all the factory wiring from 1967, so 50-plus-year-old wiring.
Okay.
Did a whole new modern wiring harness, but in the midst of that, had shoulder surgery. So then I was out for a while doing that. But I would have drove it over here today, except it was raining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's running now.
No. No, absolutely.
Only because it's raining.
Yeah, that's right.
So what's it need now? Like, what are you working on?
So honestly, I started after I rewired it. I started doing some like Gucci stuff. I was like, I'm gonna push that button, start in that sucker. Do this, that. And so I went down this rabbit hole of like doing cool stuff, not functional stuff. And so it's the ignition's pulled apart right now.
Okay.
But it was running prior to me doing that.
Okay.
So
But to Aaron's point, right, like car girls are a little different than car guys. A lot of times they're not so deep into it as we get. Like they put their foot in the water, we do a cannonball. Like we're deep into this stuff. And a lot of car girls just aren't as deep as that. That's a generalization, don't flame me. But like there are some girls that are really deep into stuff too. I'm not going to say that they're not, but in general, our wives are not as deep into it as we are.
Fact.
Raven pointed out the fact that when we do get her a first-gen Camaro, she's like, I just want Joe to hand me the keys. I want to get in and go.
Right.
See, now me, I can't leave well enough alone. I'm going to
Right.
get something. I'm going to mod it. I'm going to continue to
Right.
make it better, faster, cooler.
Absolutely.
And they're
As you do.
they're satisfied, right? They're like, oh, give me the keys. I'm going to drive.
And Aaron's point is like he was waiting for them to say the coolest part about these cars or like the most technically cool thing about it.
Yeah.
My wife did not mention it was a twin turbo because you could buy an RT that wasn't twin turbo package and all-wheel drive. So she didn't mention that, which was what makes that car the unique car that it is. Or your car is got a blower on it, and that's
And fuel injected, and,
Yeah.
and a 6-speed.
Yeah, and so those are cool things that car guys want to know. We want to know the technical things.
Yeah. And we're going to use them, right? My wife bought her a car for her birthday as a surprise, X5M, 575.
You bought her this.
Yes,
Yeah.
575 horsepower twin turbo V8.
So not just the appearance package.
Yeah, no, it's
an M.
it is an M. It's
Yeah.
not a M40i or an M Sport, right?
Yeah.
The car's awesome, but she has probably in the 2 years or more of owning it never actually pushed the M button to use all of the things, right? They would like to know that they have it, but they're not really going to use it. They want it to look good or sound good or, get a little attention, but they're not in it to actually truly enjoy the experience of all of the car.
Yeah.
So that M button is very clean.
Hey, I was driving my buddy's M4 from work, and when we talk about buttons, dude, that car has buttons all over the steering wheel. It's got M1 or something and M2 up here, and I'm just driving, and I'm like, boop, 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 boop. I'm like trying to get this thing in full sport mode, take traction control off. I'm like, hey, I'm yelling at him. He's in this my wife's car. I'm like, hey, how do you get this thing to shift on itself? Because I was pushing all the buttons. I turned it into the full track mode, and it was like paddle shift only, and I was trying to go back to the automatic mode because I was just like revving out the RPMs. Like, brrr. Those cars are cool. So if anyone has an M4, I'm jealous. Like, that's a class car.
Yeah, they are.
They got a lot of buttons. They do a lot of things.
Yeah, BMW makes them look like spaceships inside.
Yeah.
My dad's got an M8. Surprisingly, he let me drive it. I used to talk smack to him when he first got it. I was like, hey, old man, you out racing people? He's like, no, of course not. And I was like, why'd you buy an M8? And he's like, well, because it looks good and it drives good. I'm like, Dad, when I get home, I'm going to beat the crap out of your car. He's like, I'm not going to let you drive it. He did. So we're out cruising around. He's like, pulls over, lets me get in the driver's seat. And again, like all these crazy buttons. So I'm sitting there like, trying to take traction control off, sport mode, all this crap. And he's just looking at me, doesn't say anything. I look over at him. I just stab it, just romp on that thing, beat it up. He's kind of sitting there like, doesn't say a word though. Let's do it.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
cool. That's good.
Not to segue away from the girls for a second here, but I've got a lot of customers, this just reminded me of this, that are really in it for performance, and they love taking the highway down to Mexico and
Right.
showing what their car can really
Yeah, all
do
the street racing in Mexico.
against
Yeah.
other people, out of this country,
Yeah.
where it's legal. And there's a big thing in the car show community of guys. I didn't realize it was this big, but it's happened several times where customers of mine are talking to me about meeting up at Cars and Coffees or car shows, trying to get some races set up for their jaunts down in Mexico.
Cash days.
Yeah,
type stuff.
vacation in Mexico highways. And there's a lot of car guys that show up to these car shows that won't race. They don't race, and they get upset that you're trying to get them to race their car. Like specifically, like
Yeah.
Challenger, SRT drag pack, like Hellcats, like all these guys and they're usually older guys, but you bought a performance machine that came with like 800 horsepower from the factory and it's on drag radials. And you're upset that somebody wants to race you and see what it's all about.
Show guys versus go guys.
Yeah.
It's a fact.
Yep.
Yeah.
As I've had customers tell me numerous stories about getting show guys upset with them or chasing after them. A lot of my customers love to chase people. They'll just chase people out of car shows because they just want to see what their car, how it stacks up.
Yeah.
When you spend a lot of money and you love your car and it makes 900 wheel, 1100 wheel horsepower, whatever the number is, right? You want to know, how does that stack up against this Huracan? How does this stack up against this R8 or whatever it is? And there's been quite a few stories of people who just won't race them. Now, these are mostly Supras, so they're hard to be stealthy in. But
I mean, unless you know.
yeah,
You got
but
exhaust mods.
Yeah,
Unless you have a Ferrari.
yeah. But the thing is, it's like I don't know if they're just afraid to lose or if they are really that like against racing their car. But who buys a Lamborghini and is afraid to race it.
I got a great example. So at that car dealership yesterday, beautiful mint condition C7 Z06 parked out there. And I asked my buddy, I'm like, hey man, what's the story with this? He's like, one of the guys, actually a guy that lives in our neighborhood, he's like, came in, traded it in, and got a C8. And he's like, he actually had me go to his house and appraise it prior to him bringing it in because he didn't want to drive it on the road, take it out of his garage, and bring it to the dealership. Has like maybe 1,200 miles on it. And it's a few years old at this point. It's like, okay, why'd you buy that car? To sit in your garage and just, polish it in the garage? Man, I buy stuff to drive it. And it seems like that's kind of like where all of us are at. Because, you drive your Gallardo all the time. And, there's show guys and there's go guys.
Yeah, we'll put some miles on Nicola.
The show guys, that was the brag boards.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, the
Terrible. Yeah. It's not just the brag boards, too. And the girls alluded to this or touched on it as well. It's the intent to like focus in on this one specific color scheme and then like a Marvel comic character.
The theme.
And like, the theme. And like, now my car is the Venom car. And it's going to be black and have all this just ridiculous crap everywhere. It's a one-of-one build, and it's this and it's that. And then I change my oil with Mobil 1, 10 to Bu30. And, oh, God, absolutely ridiculous stuff. Yeah. But I will say, right, your dyno slip, right, totally allowable. I do understand your pain when it comes to like getting to a car show, pulling up in a Supra, and everybody wants to come over, which is cool. I love Supras too. If I see somebody pulling in who's got a sweet Supra, I'm going to go look. I'm probably going to stand back a little bit so that the horde can go in and, rush the dude and beat him to death and find out how much power he makes. But it's one of those things that like you pull into Cars and Coffee Morrisville, 1,000 cars, like legitimately 1,000 cars. Have never been to a show like that before. Yeah, it's insane. And so you have people, and Supras are hot right now. They have been for a while, but really, really. So when you get there, it's everybody wants to talk to you. Everybody wants to ask about the car. Cool, right? Understandable, but holy moly, dude. It gets to the point that you're just like, I would like to step away from my car so that I can, because I'm here to see all sorts of other cars. I have this car. I want to go see all the other ones. Maybe talk to another Supra owner, ask him how much power he has. You
should have made a dynograph.
Yeah. So, I totally understand wanting to put something up that's like, hey, it does make 1,100 wheel, so that way I don't have to answer and I can go over here and do these other things. So it can be a little consuming.
Yeah. And just to be absolutely clear, the car that I have the dynograph up of does make 1,000 wheel horsepower, but I didn't make it to brag. I made it for self-preservation because I'm literally going crazy having to answer that question 900 times, and I can't walk away from my own car. This thing literally gives me freedom.
Oh, hey, man, the door's locked, right?
Yeah.
Walk away.
Yeah, I know. But it's hard, man, because, like, part of the enjoyment of having the Supra is letting other people enjoy it, too, because we own them. We see them every single day. So, but they're so special to other people that so rare. Every car show I go to, somebody comes up to me and says, I've never seen one in person.
Yeah, which is weird to me. And the level of affection that people have for the cars. Yes. Aaron's going to be driving his Lambo. I'm going to be in the Supra. We'll pull up to a gas station. People will start walking over toward us, and they will walk right by the Lambo. Just don't give a shit about it, and they'll come right over the Supra, and they're like, oh, man.
I got a Supra, too.
And I think this is part of what fed Aaron, fed into Aaron getting a Supra, because he's like, fuck this. But yeah, people love them.
Cult icon.
Right, and I love them, too.
It's an icon.
I'm a domestic guy, and I love the Supra.
Yeah.
So just saying.
And we love domestic guys. Import guys and domestic guys do love each other.
Yeah.
That's the outline of a Supra, isn't it? It's like a Mark 1. Celica Supra.
I like anybody who's into cars and has the same passion as I do. And I love anybody who's an adrenaline junkie like I am and wants to go fast and wants to do stuff like I'm not the twisty guy. Adam's the twisty guy. I'm the straight line drag race guy, but I still appreciate and love the adrenaline of what he does. Like,
Yeah.
even the drift guys, as much as we all hate on them usually, don't flame me in the comments for that. I can love and appreciate the drift guys for what they do.
Yeah.
And I don't want to do it. For me, it's like figure skating for cars, but I love it. I think
Yeah.
it's cool. But the kind of racing you like to do, or the kind of spirited driving you like to do, I hope to, maybe one day do a Tail of the Dragon where I can whip one of my cars around and do something really cool like that.
Yeah.
I want to tell y'all a story, and it's looking back at it, it was stupid of me, but talking about the Super and how rare it is, and getting one to take it out so that people can see it, the car meets and whatnot. Being in the position to be able to get one, right, and then taking it out so other people can enjoy it, like you were saying, that is like sharing the passion, and that is a huge portion of what drove me to get that at the same time with the Gallardo. But sometimes I did that in the past too much. So prior to the Super, prior to the Gallardo, I had a GTR, and I had 3 GTRs. And I had 3 GTRs because 2012, I'm pretty sure it was 2013. I bought a GTR, and then I got to enjoy that car a lot. And those cars are tanks. Like they can take a nice beating. Go to the drag strip in Maryland and then drive back home to North Carolina and do that month after month was awesome. But I kept getting rid of a GTR because in lieu of trying to get the Gallardo. And then another GTR would come up at such a good price, I would hop back into a GTR. And then after a few months, I would sell it and then hop back into it. So that's why I ended up with GT3. But when I had the GTRs, because that was the first 3 years. They came out in 2009 in America. I had one. Okay, so 4 years. By 13, I had one by 2013. People were like screwing up traffic, trying to hover next to me to take photos of it and videos of it, and always want to hear it and whatnot because it's such a rare car, right? So at gas stations, people would come up to me, and I would give people rides at gas stations. Like I take them around the block so they can check the block that they got the ride in one.
Did you charge them?
I've been compensated. I've been compensated multiple times, and there's been some times where I let people drive them. And one time I went to the drag strip, and I put on Facebook. I'm telling you, it was a horrible idea, and I'm not doing it again. But nothing happened. But I put on Facebook in the local car group that, hey, I'm going to the drag strip. If anyone wants to drag a GTR down the strip, it's like $70 or $80. Just meet me there. I mean, I would be the only one with the GTR there. So then I had these random people come up to me like, hey, we'll take your car down the track. So I made over $300 that night.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So it was a modded GTR. Like, it was a 10-second car. And then I would just explain to them the settings, how to launch control. And they'd go rip it down the drag strip.
That is hilarious.
And there were some times where they would go down and it would take a long time to come back because like the little ticket booth where you get your slip on how you did your run and whatnot. But I'm standing there at the end of the drag strip, just like wondering when they're coming back.
Oh my God. Yeah. That is hilarious.
It's a horrible idea. I don't recommend doing that. But they got to.
But you love sharing your passion. That's a
little too much of a sharing.
Right.
Yeah.
But
yeah, the Supra, I mean, it gets the same thing where you've got people slowing down. They want to talk to you. Every time I take the Supra out, people are taking pictures. Someone's going to come talk to me or take video or take pictures. It happens every time. And it's cool, right? Because you like to share that passion with everybody.
Absolutely. And I think along the exact same line is something Joe wanted to touch on in retaliation to some of his wife's comments, which was what us guys would coin, what's the difference between bragging and bonding? Because what we're talking about here is us sharing our passion for cars with other guys, and our wives getting secondhand embarrassment over what we consider bonding, not bragging. Like,
Exactly.
so I understand maybe in the female hierarchy, if you're one-upping each other with things that you do in life, like places you've been on vacation or clothes you've bought or things you do, maybe that's a bad thing. But with most friendly male relationships from man to man, we just like sharing the cool shit we have, and
Yep.
we're sharing our passion for something with somebody else that's also passionate about the same thing. And so
Yeah, so like if we're talking about mods, right? Like I'm going to talk about my car. I'm going to tell you I have this. You'd be like, oh shit, I have this. And be like, I have this. And we'll kind of go back and forth, right? And it's not one-upping. I am responding to what you said with a statement that is on the same subject and goes down the same path. So, what kind of suspension do you have? Oh, I've got this. Well, you got that, and I've got this, and well, this is better for that. And so it's not. Yeah, it's definitely not one-upping. It is for sure bonding.
Well, it's like so Raven pointed out to me after their podcast that she doesn't really know a whole lot about cars per se, right? So it's like her seeing, two foreigners speak a foreign language. So she has no idea what we're talking about. To her, it may sound like bragging.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Okay. Yeah, I can see that.
To me,
very valid.
Let's say, we're Harley guys, right? You ask me like, oh, what model Harley did you have? I'm like, oh, I had an '07 Night Train. I had this, this, and this done to it, and I tell you all the specs, everything I had done to it. And then I'm like, well, how about you? And then you tell me literally, we're just sharing information about what
like,
we have. And we're like, oh, that's
Road King
badass.
CVO,
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, man.
Yeah. But to them, they're just like blah 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 blah. They don't know what we're saying.
Yeah. To them, it's just like nonsensical rebuttals to each other. So they think maybe we're one-upping each other.
You're really just stating like commonalities.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like you got a Supra, like you got a Mark IV, and you're like, yeah, like, well, I got a Mark IV,
Yeah.
and then you are actually intrigued. Like, oh, really? Like, oh, cool. Like, now we both have Mark IVs. Like, is yours turbo? And you'll be like, yeah, it's got 110 millimeter turbo on it. Like, oh, cool. Mine's got a 67. So, like, even though the 67, the 67, you got 67. Wait, what years are?
It's 67. Yeah.
Even though, like, we're just talking about specs. It's not one upping. It's relating in the commonality. It's like, oh yeah, I got a single turbo instead of it being a non-turbo Tesla mod. I actually have the single turbo 67 millimeter.
Yeah, and to someone who's maybe not really technically into it, they might hear me say I've got a 68 millimeter turbo, and you say you've got a 62 millimeter turbo on yours, and they might think, oh, Alex just one-upped him because his is a 68 and his is a 64. That's obviously a bigger number. But that's not what we're doing. We're not one-upping each other. We're just stating the fact of what we have.
Yeah.
And
Especially because difference in build, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
You're going straight. I like to turn. So those numbers are different effects and different capabilities. So, while it may seem bigger number, smaller number, and now I'm one-upping you, it's really like purpose-built for something else, purpose-built for something completely different.
If Adam says, oh, I've got 750 wheel horsepower, and then Alex replies with, yeah, mine makes 1,000, people are going to think I'm one-upping him, but his car would trash mine in the twisties. That's not what we're like.
Right.
What we built our cars for is different things.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't think Adam ever, put his specific seat in his car and then looked over at my drag car and was like, well, with this seat, I'm going to wreck that thing on the track.
Yeah.
Do you have an aluminum seat, like a Kirky Racing aluminum drag seat in your green turtle?
The Turtle Power has a Tillet carbon.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
those are really nice
Tillet
seats.
carbon seat from the UK. Yeah.
Nice.
Like those. So that one, it doesn't hold you bolster. Like the bolsters don't go around the side.
No, not at all. It's kind of bowl shaped, but it doesn't have big side bolsters on it because they make different models, right? All these seat manufacturers, they make specific seats, but the one I bought is the most resembling a non-racing race seat because the car goes straight.
Yeah.
So the more bolsters and things that are added to the seat, the more weight it has.
Yes,
so in a drag race, it's power to weight, and I don't need side bolsters to go straight.
Correct.
So
Is this the first car that you've had that has popped a wheelie?
This is, yeah.
It is.
Yeah, it's the first car I've ever owned that can pull
That's
the front
so rad,
tires
dude.
out. Yeah.
So, when was your first wheelie? Like,
that was
do
at
you
World
feel
Cup
it?
finals.
World
yeah,
Cup?
oh yeah, I felt it.
is that the photo that I dropped in the last video?
It is.
I'm gonna drop it again.
Yeah. Yeah. And then right after that pass, we made 3 record passes in a row at that event. But right after that pass, I made some adjustments to the front suspension, so it did not wheelie on the next one.
Yeah.
And then the next one was faster. So a lot of people will. This is probably a different video, a more technical video, but in drag racing, wheelies look really cool, but they don't win
Correct.
races.
Right.
Correct.
So
Keep the front end down, keep traction, and roll.
yeah, it definitely it's safer too. I mean,
Oh yeah.
Right.
it's obvious that you can't steer the car if the front wheels aren't on the ground.
Well, it's like, all these people say spinning ain't winning.
Yeah.
Actually, in a drag race, you do want your wheels off the start to spin a little bit, because if you dead hook, that's when you're wheeling. And if you're dead hooked and wheeling and your car isn't straight, you're going to go into a wall.
Yeah.
Or if you're wheeling, you let off, your car smashes down,
Yeah.
there goes your oil pan.
Yeah.
There's a lot of factors, but yeah, that definitely a technical video where you get in some real crazy information.
Different video. We'll do a tech video later. This one's about roasting females at car shows.
Which we haven't really done a whole lot of. Definitely not our wives, because they're beautiful and we love them, and
human beings,
they're never
actually.
mean to us.
The roasting was mediocre at best, just saying.
Yeah.
It was like a simmer.
So I'll just go out and say the obvious. Go ahead. I'll let you go.
So I didn't do it on the video, but you saw me and y'all were broing out talking about whatever the hell you were talking about. You saw me come out of the kitchen. I had an apron on and I had tongs and like grill utensils in my hand. I was like smacking them around. I wanted to come on the footage and be like, hey man, let's get ready for this roast. And I put my grill utensils down with my apron on, and then we get straight into roasting them. But then we had this little realization, like, our wives are sweethearts. Like, they're angels. Like, they can't do nothing wrong. So like, we're not here to roast them. We're not here to roast y'all ladies. We're going to praise you and uplift you, because that's what good men do. That's what good husbands do. We love you. Alrighty, viewers. Upon request, I'm going to make this a 2-part video. But in the meantime, I need you to head on over to autopilotexotics.com so you can check out all the merch we have for sale. We even have hoodies for the cold season. autopilotexotics.com. In the meantime, hit that like and subscribe button so you can stay up to date on all the videos we post and for part 2. I'll see you around.